Before Run DMC brought hip-hop to Madison Square Garden and LL Cool J turned microphone cords into weapons, the 1980s underground was packed with artists who dropped absolute fire on wax, scored regional hits, and rocked every block party from the Bronx to Los Angeles, then disappeared into history. They moved thousands of records, influenced the legends you know, and created sounds that still bang today, but most of y'all never heard their names. Let's fix that right now, starting with number 15. Number 15, West Street Mob, Breakdance Electric Boogie, 1983. Out of Philadelphia, this cut became the soundtrack to every breaking battle on the East Coast, with production that mixed electro-funk with raw hip-hop energy that made linoleum floors dangerous. The group featured Joey Robinson Jr., the son of Sugar Hill Records founder Sylvia Robinson, but even that connection couldn't keep them in the spotlight beyond this one massive dance floor destroyer. The track reportedly moved over 50,000 copies in the Philly and New York areas alone, and if you were b-boying in '83, you absolutely knew this record. West Street Mob dropped a few more singles but never recaptured this lightning, fading into the background as electro-funk gave way to harder beats. Number 14, Jimmy Spicer, The Bubble Bunch, 1982. The Bubble Bunch. While everyone remembers Adventures of Super Rhyme from '80, Jimmy Spicer came back 2 years later with this playful, story-driven track that showcased his narrative style over a funky, bubblegum-influenced beat that was way ahead of its time. Spicer was one of the first MCs to really stretch out storytelling in rap, using characters and plot lines like he was writing a Saturday morning cartoon over breakbeats. The Bubble Bunch got decent airplay on New York radio stations like WHBI and WBLS, but the emergence of harder street sounds from artists like Boogie Down Productions and Just Ice made Spicer's lighter approach seem outdated almost overnight. He influenced everyone from Slick Rick to Fresh Prince with his story rap style, but never got the commercial breakthrough his talent deserved. Number 13, LA Dream Team. Dream Team is in the house, 1985.
Ladies and gentlemen,
West Coast representation right here. This crew out of Los Angeles dropped one of the most infectious party anthems of the mid-'80s, with a hook that could get any crowd bouncing and production from Egyptian Lover that brought that signature West Coast electro sound. The Dream Team included Rudy Party, MC Ice-T, not that Ice-T, and Sean E. Sean, and they were regulars at the Radio Club in LA where Uncle Jam's Army held court. The record reportedly sold approximately 15,000 copies independently, which was serious numbers for a West Coast crew before NWA changed everything. They tried to follow up with Rockberry Jam and other singles, but by '87 the electro sound was dying and gangster rap was rising, and the Dream Team's party vibes couldn't compete with the streets. Number 12, world-class Wreckin crew, Surgery, 1984. 7 days a week. Before Dr. Dre became the most important producer in rap history, he was DJ Dr. Dre, spinning records for this electro-funk outfit that rocked matching medical scrubs and prioritized synthesizers over samples. Surgery was their breakout single, a bouncy, keyboard-heavy track that dominated West Coast clubs and Skateland DJ sets, showcasing Dre's early production and featuring future Above the Law member CLI Evil on vocals. The Wreckin crew sold approximately 50,000 copies of their independent releases and built a serious following in Southern California, but when Dre left to form NWA in '86, that was pretty much curtains for the group's relevance. Listen to Surgery now and you can hear the seeds of Dre's production genius, even wrapped in all those '80s synths and drum machines. Number 11, Masterdon Committee, Funkbox Party, 1983. This right here was the sound of New York City underground hip-hop before it got codified. Raw, stripped-down breakbeats with MC chants that kept the party moving without overthinking anything. The committee was actually a collective of Bronx DJs and MCs who rotated members depending on who showed up to the session, giving the track this authentic block party energy that studio groups couldn't fake. Funkbox Party became a street anthem, sold mostly out of record shops in the Bronx and Harlem, and you'd hear it blasting from boomboxes all summer long in '83. But without a consistent lineup or major label backing, the Masterdon Committee couldn't capitalize on their underground buzz, and by '84, they'd scattered to various other crews and day jobs, leaving just this one perfect snapshot of Bronx hip-hop at its rawest. Number 10, Boogie Boys, A Fly Girl, 1985.
A fly girl is a girl who wants you to see her name, her game, and her ability.
Harlem's Boogie Boys came correct with this up-tempo tribute to the ladies that combined old-school rap cadences with the newer production techniques that were emerging in the mid-'80s, creating something that honored hip-hop's past while pushing toward its future. The group featured Romeo J.D., Lil Raheem, and Boogie Night, and they were signed to Capitol Records, giving them distribution most underground crews could only dream about. A Fly Girl reportedly peaked around number 15 on the R&B charts and moved approximately 100,000 copies, making it a legitimate hit, but follow-up singles like Rappin' Ain't No Thing couldn't match that success. The Boogie Boys represented that transition moment in hip-hop when the culture was going mainstream but hadn't quite figured out how to sustain careers beyond one or two singles, and they fell into that gap despite their obvious talent and major label backing. Number 9, Double D and Steinski, Lesson 2, The James Brown Mix, 1984.
Get up, get on up, get up, get on up, stay on the scene, get on up like a sex machine.
This wasn't a traditional hip-hop track, this was art, with production duo Steve Stein and Douglas D.E. Larcio creating a masterclass in sampling and turntable technique that influenced producers for decades but never got commercial release due to copyright issues. Lesson 2 stitched together James Brown breaks, comedy records, sound effects, and vocal snippets into a layered collage that essentially wrote the blueprint for sample-based production, and it circulated through DJ networks on white-label pressings that became holy grails. Because it was never officially released, there's no sales data, but its impact on hip-hop production is undeniable. Everyone from Prince Paul to the Bomb Squad studied these lessons. Double D and Steinski created 3 lessons total, but Lesson 2 remains the most celebrated. An underground masterpiece that proved hip-hop could be as artistically complex as any other musical form. Before we continue, if you're discovering these forgotten classics and realizing how deep 1980s hip-hop really goes, do me a solid and hit that subscribe button. We're bringing back the artists and tracks that built this culture but got left out of the history books, and we drop new documentaries every week covering the pioneers who deserve their flowers. Also, drop a comment and let me know which of these tracks you actually remember. I want to know who the real heads are watching right now. Number 8. Sequence, Funk You Up, released in late '79 but blowing up through 1980. This was Sugar Hill Records' second release ever, right after Rapper's Delight, and it featured the first all-female rap group Cheryl the Pearl, Angie B, and Blondie, proving women could rock the mic just as hard as the fellas. Funk You Up had that same live band, disco funk foundation as early Sugar Hill productions, with the 3 MCs trading verses over a bass line that wouldn't quit, and the record reportedly sold over 50,000 copies in its first few months. Despite being genuine pioneers, the first female rap group on wax, Sequence never broke through to the mainstream the way Roxanne Shanté or MC Lyte would later in the decade, dropping a few more singles before disbanding in '82, leaving Funk You Up as their lasting contribution to proving hip-hop had space for everybody. Number 7, Treacherous 3, The New Rap Language, 1980. Before they joined forces with Spoonie Gee on the legendary Love Rap, the Treacherous 3, Kool Moe Dee, LA Sunshine, and Special K dropped this showcase of pure microphone skills that demonstrated the emerging complexity of MC technique in the early 80s. The New Rap Language featured rapid-fire delivery, internal rhymes, and breath control that was light years ahead of most cats on wax at the time, essentially creating the template for technical rapping that Rockin and KRS-One would perfect later in the decade. The record became a street favorite and sold steadily through independent distribution, but Enjoy Records didn't have the promotional muscle of Sugar Hill, keeping the Treacherous 3 underground despite their obvious superiority on the mic. They'd have more success after moving to Sugar Hill in '81, but the New Rap Language remains the purest document of their skills, a forgotten gem that proved hip-hop was evolving beyond simple party rhymes into something technically sophisticated. Number 6, Spoonie Gee, Spoonin Rap, 1980. Spoonie Gee was one of the smoothest MCs in the early game, and Spoonin Rap showcased his storytelling ability and player persona over a funky groove that made it a favorite at parties and on radio in New York and Philly. Gabriel Jackson, that's Spoonie's government name, was actually related to the Robinson family that owned Sugar Hill Records, but he started on Peter Brown's Sound of New York label before eventually moving to his family's operation. Spoonin Rap established the romantic, smooth-talking MC archetype that Slick Rick and Big Daddy Kane would later perfect, with Spoonie weaving tales of romance and street life with equal skill. Empathetic despite being a genuine pioneer and influencing countless MCs with his conversational flow and storytelling approach, Spoonie Gee never achieved the mainstream success of his contemporaries, remaining a name that only true hip-hop heads remember, while his style lives on in countless artists who came after. Number 5, Fearless 4, Rockin' It, 1982. Coming out of the Bronx with energy that could power a city block, the Fearless 4, Peso, Tito, OC, and DLB dropped this up-tempo banger on Elektra Records that showcased the raw, party-rocking style that made them underground legends. The group was originally called the Houdinis and built their reputation at venues like Disco Fever and the T-Connection, where their synchronized routines and energetic performances made them must-see entertainment in the early 80s scene. Rockin' It featured production from Bobby Robinson and captured the Fearless 4's ability to control a crowd, reportedly selling around 30,000 copies and getting significant airplay on New York radio. But Elektra didn't really know how to market hip-hop in '82. They were a rock label dabbling in rap, and without proper promotional support, the Fearless 4 couldn't break nationally despite having the talent, the look, and the live show to compete with anybody in the game. Number 4, Egyptian Lover, Egypt, 1984.
Egyptian lover, baby, Egyptian lover.
Out of Los Angeles, Greg Broussard brought a futuristic, synthesizer-heavy sound that defined West Coast electro-hop and made him a regional superstar while the rest of the country was still catching up to what was happening out west. Egypt was pure Roland TR-808 drum machine and synth bass, with Egyptian Lover's robotic delivery and heavy use of the vocoder, creating an alien soundscape that was perfect for West Coast skateland parties and lowrider culture. The track sold approximately 40,000 copies independently on his own Egyptian Empire label, proving that West Coast artists could build careers without New York's blessing or major label deals. Egyptian Lover influenced everyone from Dr. Dre to Ice Cube with his independent hustle and electronic production style, but by '87 the harder sounds of gangsta rap were taking over LA, and his electro-funk approach seemed like a relic from another era despite being only a few years old. Number 3, Nucleus, Jam on It, 1984. Brooklyn's Nucleus created one of the most infectious, futuristic tracks of the entire decade with this electro-hop anthem that combined vocoders, synthesizers, and breakbeats into something that sounded like hip-hop from outer space. Ben Sinak, also known as Cosmo D, led the group and produced this masterpiece that reportedly peaked around number 56 on the Billboard Hot 100 Serious Crossover Success for an independent hip-hop record in '84. Jam on It became a breakdancing anthem, a skateland favorite, and an international hit, selling approximately 200,000 copies worldwide and proving hip-hop could be commercially successful without compromising its core elements. But Nucleus couldn't capture that magic again, with follow-up singles failing to chart and the group eventually dissolving as musical trends shifted toward harder, sample-based production, leaving Jam on It as a perfect time capsule of mid-'80s electro-hop at its peak. A track that still bangs at old-school parties and reminds us how creative and fun hip-hop used to sound before it got so serious. Number 2, Captain Rapp, Bad Times, I Can't Stand It, 1983. Before there was conscious rap, before hip-hop became overtly political with Public Enemy and Boogie Down Productions, there was Larry Darnell Glenn from Compton speaking truth about poverty and struggle over a haunting minimalist beat. Bad Times was released on Saturn Records and featured Captain Rapp delivering social commentary with a straightforward, almost conversational flow that made the message hit even harder over production that felt like the economic desperation he was describing. The record became huge in the UK, reportedly selling over 100,000 copies overseas and influencing British hip-hop's development, while in America it got regional play but never broke nationally despite its obviously superior content. Captain Rapp released a few more singles, but none captured the lightning of Bad Times, and he eventually left the music industry entirely, leaving behind this one powerful statement that proved hip-hop could address serious social issues years before it became fashionable. A forgotten pioneer of conscious rap who deserves recognition for seeing hip-hop's potential as protest music. Number 1, Roxanne Shanté, Roxanne's Revenge, 1984.
Well, my name is Roxanne, and don't you know, I just start going rock a party and I do the show.
At only 14 years old, Lolita Shanté, Gooden stepped into a Queen's studio and demolished UTFO over the instrumental to their track Roxanne, Roxanne, creating the most famous answer record in hip-hop history and launching the Roxanne Wars that would spawn over 100 response records. Roxanne's Revenge showcased a level of lyrical skill and confidence that most adult MCs couldn't touch, with Roxanne flipping UTFO's disrespect into a masterclass of battle rap that reportedly sold over 250,000 copies independently on Pop Art Records. The success of Roxanne's Revenge made Shanté a star overnight, led to appearances on television and radio, and proved definitively that women could compete with men bar for bar in the rap game. But here's the tragedy. Despite being more talented than 90% of MCs working in '84, despite selling hundreds of thousands of records, and despite being a genuine cultural phenomenon, Roxanne Shanté is mostly forgotten today outside of hardcore hip-hop circles, reduced to a trivia answer instead of being celebrated as the teenage genius who proved women belonged at the center of hip-hop, not the margins, making Roxanne's Revenge not just the best one-hit wonder of the 1980s, but one of the most important tracks in establishing that this culture had room for everybody with skills, regardless of gender or age. These 15 tracks represent just a fraction of the incredible music created during hip-hop's first golden era, when artists were inventing the language, pushing boundaries, and building a culture from nothing. Most of these artists never got the recognition they deserved, never achieved lasting fame, and often struggled financially despite creating music that influenced generations of MCs and producers who came after them. But their contributions matter, their music still bangs, and it's our responsibility as hip-hop heads to remember their names and keep their legacies alive. If this video opened your eyes to how deep the 1980s really go, smash that like button and subscribe to Hip Hop Legends Archives for more forgotten history. Drop a comment telling me which track surprised you most, or better yet, tell me what forgotten 80s gem we need to cover next. Thanks for rocking with us, and remember, real hip-hop never dies, it just gets forgotten until somebody brings it back. Peace.